In the vast tapestry of existence, where time weaves through dimensions both seen and unseen, there exists a question that has haunted humanity since consciousness first gazed upon itself in wonder. How many times have we walked this earth? How many faces have we worn? How many hearts have beaten within our chest? How many dreams have we dreamed under different stars? The inquiry into our past lives is not merely an exercise in spiritual curiosity. It is a profound archaeological expedition into the deepest chambers of the soul, where memories lie buried like ancient treasures waiting to be unearthed by the patient seeker. To understand how to know how many lives you have lived is to embark upon a journey that transcends the linear constraints of time as we commonly perceive it. We are taught to think of existence as a single arrow shot from birth toward death, a straight line drawn across the canvas of eternity. Yet those who have peered beyond the veil of ordinary consciousness speak of something far more magnificent, a spiral dance of being, where each lifetime is but a single note in an infinite symphony, each incarnation a chapter in a story so vast that our present minds can barely comprehend its scope. The cosmos itself seems to whisper of this cyclical nature through countless examples that surround us. Consider how the seasons return again and again, each spring both entirely new and yet familiar, carrying within it the essence of every spring that has ever bloomed. Watch how the moon waxes and wanes in its eternal rhythm, never truly dying but transforming, always returning to fullness after its dark phase. Even ourselves replace themselves continuously, yet we remain ourselves, or do we? This paradox of continuity within change offers us the first glimpse into the mystery of multiple existences. The human soul, according to ancient wisdom traditions spanning every continent and culture, operates under similar principles of renewal and return. Like a master artisan who returns to the workshop lifetime after lifetime, perfecting their craft through countless iterations, we are said to journey through existence gathering experiences, wisdom, and understanding that can only be acquired through the full spectrum of human experience. One lifetime as a king, another as a peasant, one incarnation as a scholar, another as a fool, sometimes the teacher, sometimes the student-teach role, contributing essential threads to the cosmic tapestry of our spiritual evolution. Yet how can we, imprisoned as we seem to be within the confines of our current identity, hope to glimpse these other chapters of our existence? The answer lies not in looking outward with our physical eyes, but inward with the vision of the soul. For within each of us exists what mystics have called the Akashic memory, a vast library of every experience, every emotion, every lesson learned across all lifetimes. This cosmic database is not housed in some distant realm, but resides within the very fabric of our being, accessible to those who know how to quiet the chattering mind and listen to the deeper frequencies of their eternal self. The process of discovering how many lives you have lived is both an art and a science, requiring equal measures of intuitive sensitivity and disciplined practice. It demands that we develop new forms of perception, learning to distinguish between the fantasies of the imagination and the authentic memories of the soul. Like archaeologists carefully brushing away centuries of dust to reveal ancient artifacts, we must learn to excavate our consciousness with patience and precision, recognizing that each genuine past life memory carries within it a unique signature resonance that distinguishes it from mere wishful thinking or psychological projection. The implications of this exploration extend far beyond mere intellectual curiosity. To know how many lives you have lived is to understand the profound interconnectedness of all existence, to recognize that every person you meet may be someone you have known before in circumstances entirely different from the present. It is to see current relationships, challenges, and patterns through the lens of eternal perspective, understanding that what appears to be coincidence or random circumstance may actually be the unfolding of karmic threads woven across centuries of interaction. Moreover, This knowledge transforms our relationship with death itself. No longer the ultimate enemy or final ending, death becomes revealed as merely a doorway, a transition between acts in the great drama of consciousness. The fear that grips so many hearts when contemplating mortality begins to dissolve when we understand that we are not these temporary vessels of flesh and bone, but eternal beings temporarily wearing physical form for the purpose of growth and service. As we stand at the threshold of this exploration, we must acknowledge both its profound potential and its inherent challenges. The journey to uncover past lives is not one to be undertaken lightly or with casual interest. It requires courage to face truths that may challenge our current self-perception, humility to accept that we may have been quite different in previous incarnations, and wisdom to integrate what we discover in ways that serve our present spiritual evolution rather than inflating our ego or creating spiritual bypassing of current responsibilities. The ancient temple inscription, "Know thyself," takes on exponential meaning when we expand it to encompass not just who we are now, but who we have been across the vast expanse of time. For in knowing our complete story, the full arc of our soul's journey through multiple lifetimes, we gain access to the wisdom, compassion, and understanding that can only come from having experienced existence from every possible angle and perspective. Within the grand cathedral of consciousness, there exist fundamental pillars that support our understanding of how to discern the number of lives we have lived. These core themes operate like invisible laws of spiritual physics, governing the ways in which soul memories manifest, interact, and reveal themselves to our awakening awareness. To comprehend these principles is to possess the master key that unlocks the vault of our eternal experience. The first and most crucial concept is what we might call the principle of resonant recognition. Just as a tuning fork vibrates in response to its exact frequency when struck nearby, authentic past life memories carry a distinctive vibration that resonates through our entire being when encountered. This is not the fleeting excitement of encountering something novel or interesting, but rather the profound sense of homecoming that occurs when we touch something that belongs to the very essence of who we are. The recognition operates on multiple levels simultaneously: emotional, physical, and spiritual, creating what mystics describe as a knowing beyond knowing. A certainty that transcends rational explanation yet feels more solid than any fact we have ever learned. This resonant recognition often manifests through what we might call soul signatures, unique patterns of energy, preference, and response that carry across lifetimes like a spiritual fingerprint. These signatures express themselves in countless ways, an inexplicable affinity for certain historical periods that feels like memory rather than mere interest, an instant mastery of skills that should require years of practice, or an immediate sense of familiarity with places we have never visited in our current incarnation. The soul signature reveals itself in the way we instinctively move through certain environments, the languages that seem to flow from our tongue with surprising ease, or the traditions that feel like rediscovered treasures rather than newly learned customs. Closely related to this is the phenomenon of karmic threading, the recognition that our past lives are not random episodes but carefully orchestrated chapters in an ongoing story of spiritual evolution. These threads weave through time, connecting souls, lessons, and experiences in patterns of such intricate beauty that they rival the most complex mathematical equations. Understanding karmic threading allows us to recognize that the number of our past lives is less important than the quality of connection and growth that links them together. Some souls incarnate frequently, drawn by intense desire for rapid evolution or by strong karmic bonds that require multiple lifetimes to resolve. Others incarnate more seldom, taking longer periods between lives to integrate their experiences in the higher realms before returning to physical existence. The concept of temporal permeability forms another cornerstone of past life recognition: linear time, as we experience it in our daily lives, is revealed to be merely one layer of a much more complex temporal reality. Past, present, and future exist simultaneously in the eternal now of the soul's perspective, and under certain conditions, the boundaries between these apparent divisions become permeable. This permeability allows memories, skills, and even personality traits from other lifetimes to bleed through into our current awareness. The key to recognizing these temporal crossings lies in developing sensitivity to the subtle differences between memory and imagination, between echo and invention. Dreams serve as one of the most reliable portals for this temporal permeability, offering what we might call nocturnal archaeology, the excavation of past life memories through the symbolic language of sleep. And like ordinary dreams that process the events and emotions of our current lifetime, past life dreams carry a distinctive quality of hyperreality, often featuring historical details, languages, or customs that our conscious mind has never encountered. These dreams frequently repeat with remarkable consistency, as if the soul is attempting to communicate something essential about our eternal journey. The number of distinct past life dream sequences we experience over time can provide important clues about the scope of our incarnational history. Another fundamental theme is the recognition of soul groups, the understanding that we typically incarnate not as isolated individuals, but as part of interconnected clusters of souls who journey together across lifetimes, playing different roles in each other's spiritual evolution. The size and composition of these soul groups can vary dramatically between individuals, and recognizing the souls who have traveled with us provides crucial insight into how many lives we have shared, and in what capacity. Some souls incarnate primarily with a small, intimate group, exploring relationships and lessons in great depth through many lifetimes together. Others participate in larger soul communities, experiencing a broader range of connections and roles across their incarnational history. The principle of evolutionary spiraling reveals that our past lives are not ranged in a simple linear progression, but follow a spiral pattern of growth and return. We revisit similar themes, relationships, and lessons across multiple lifetimes, but each return occurs at a higher level of understanding and capability. This spiraling pattern means that counting our past lives is not simply a matter of linear enumeration, but requires understanding the cyclical nature of our soulless curriculum. We might incarnate several times to master lessons of power and responsibility, then spiral up to explore themes of love and sacrifice, only to return to power and responsibility at a more refined level of understanding. The concept of incarnational intensity must also be grasped to truly understand the number of lives we have lived. Not all lifetimes carry equal weight in terms of spiritual development or karmic significance. Some incarnations are what we might call major lifetimes, periods of intense growth, significant karmic resolution, or profound service to humanity. These lifetimes leave deeper impressions in our soul memory and are more likely to surface in our current awareness. Other incarnations might be transitional lifetimes, quieter periods of integration and preparation that, while essential to our overall development, may not register as strongly in our conscious memory. Understanding this distinction helps us recognize that the lifetimes we can recall or sense may represent peaks in a much larger mountain range of incarnational experience. Finally, we must grasp the principle of readiness and revelation, the understanding that our ability to know how many lives we have lived is intimately connected to our current level of spiritual development, and our soulless assessment of what information would be helpful rather than harmful to our present growth. The soul operates like a wise teacher, revealing information about our past only when we have developed the maturity, stability, and perspective necessary to integrate that knowledge constructively. This means that our understanding of our incarnational history will likely unfold gradually over time, with new memories and insights emerging as we demonstrate our readiness to receive them. These core themes work together like the instruments of a cosmic orchestra, each contributing its unique voice to the grand symphony of past life recognition. They remind us that discovering how many lives we have lived is not merely an intellectual exercise, but a profound journey of self-discovery that requires patience, discernment, and above all, a willingness to expand our understanding of what it means to be human in an eternal context. In the twilight realm, where memory meets mythology, where personal history dissolves into archetypal truth, we encounter the most profound method of understanding our incarnational journey through the language of symbol and story. The soul speaks not in the linear narratives of historical fact, but in the fluid poetry of metaphor, weaving together threads of experience that transcend the boundaries of individual lifetimes, to reveal the deeper patterns that govern our eternal becoming. Consider the tale of the wandering library, a story that emerges from the collective unconscious of those who seek to understand their past lives. In this narrative, each soul is envisioned as a vast library whose books represent individual lifetimes, each volume containing the complete story of one incarnation. The library exists in a space outside of time, its halls stretching infinitely in all directions, filled with shelves that reach toward a ceiling lost in cosmic darkness. The librarian, our higher self, moves through these halls with purposeful intent, selecting certain volumes to be read in the reading room of conscious awareness while leaving others unopened, their stories waiting for the appropriate moment of revelation. Some visitors to this library find that certain sections call to them with irresistible magnetism. They are drawn to the medieval manuscripts with their illuminated margins depicting lives lived in monastery cells and castle keeps, or perhaps to the ancient scrolls that speak of desert wanderings and temple mysteries. Others discover their attraction lies with the leather-bound journals of more recent centuries, filled with the intimate details of lives lived through industrial revolution, world wars, or the birth of new nations. The number of volumes that resonate with deep recognition provides a symbolic map of how many lives have been lived, each book representing not just a lifetime, but a chapter in the soul's epic journey toward understanding. Yet the library holds more than just individual stories. In its deepest vaults lie the collective volumes, massive tomes that contain the shared experiences of soul groups, the intertwining narratives of those who have journeyed together across multiple incarnations. These books reveal how our individual lifetimes weave together with others, creating tapestries of relationship and mutual growth that span centuries. The soul who recognizes connections with many others across time may find their library contains numerous such collective volumes, indicating participation in large soul groups and extensive incarnational experience. The symbol of the ancient tree offers another profound narrative for understanding our multiple lives. Imagine your soul as a tree whose roots extend deep into the fertile soil of eternity, drawing nourishment from every experience, every joy and sorrow, every triumph and failure lived across all incarnations. The trunk represents your current lifetime, the visible expression of all that has come before, while the branches reach toward future potential yet to be explored. The rings within the trunk, invisible to the casual observer but revealed when the tree is examined with deeper perception, mark each lifetime like growth rings marking seasons of existence. Some souls are like the mighty oak, taking deep root and growing slowly, manifesting relatively few but profoundly significant incarnations. Others resemble the quickly growing maple, experiencing many lifetimes in rapid succession, each one building upon the last in an accelerated pattern of development. Still others might be likened to the redwood, ancient and massive, their incarnational history stretching back through millennia, their presence touching countless other souls throughout their vast temporal existence. The type of tree your soul resembles provides symbolic insight into the pattern and number of your incarnations. The narrative of the cosmic theater presents another lens through which to understand Our multiple lives. In this symbolic story, existence itself is conceived as a vast theatrical production, with each soul playing multiple roles across countless performances. The soul who has lived many lives might recognize themselves as a veteran actor who has played everything from tragic heroes to comic relief, from royal protagonists to humble supporting characters. The resonance you feel with different historical periods, social roles, or life circumstances reflects the roles you have previously embodied on the cosmic stage. In this theater, costume changes between acts represent the transitions between lifetimes, while the core essence of the actor remains constant. The most experienced souls often display what might be called role memory, an ability to slip naturally into different perspectives and ways of being, drawing from their vast repertoire of incarnational experience. The number of roles that feel familiar, the ease with which you can inhabit different perspectives, and the breadth of human experience that resonates as genuine memory rather than imagination all provide clues to the extent of your theatrical participation in the human drama. The allegory of the master craftsman illuminates another aspect of incarnational counting. Envision the soul as an artist whose medium is lived experience, returning again and again to the workshop of physical existence to create masterpieces of understanding, compassion, and wisdom. Each lifetime represents a different artistic project, requiring specific tools, materials, and techniques. The novice craftsman might work on simple projects, exploring basic techniques through a few focused incarnations. The master craftsman, however, demonstrates virtuosity across multiple mediums, their incarnational portfolio displaying everything from delicate miniatures to sweeping epic compositions. The tools that feel familiar in your hands, the skills that seem to emerge without extensive training, and the forms of creative expression that flow through you with surprising naturalness all point to your incarnational craftsmanship. A soul who has mastered many mediums through numerous lifetimes will often display remarkable versatility in their current incarnation, able to excel in diverse fields that seemingly bear no relationship to one another. Perhaps most profound is the symbolic narrative of the spiral staircase of becoming. In this story, the soul's journey through multiple lifetimes is envisioned as an ascent up an infinite spiral staircase, each step representing a single incarnation from any given step. The soul can look back and see all the previous steps they have climbed. Though the lower steps may appear distant and somewhat obscured by the mists of temporal distance, the number of steps visible below indicates the number of lifetimes that can be consciously accessed, while the sense of how far the staircase extends into the misty depths below suggests the total scope of incarnational experience. Some souls find themselves able to see clearly for only a few steps back, indicating either relatively few past lives or a deliberate focusing of attention on the most recent incarnations. Others possess vision that penetrates deep into the spiral's depths, able to perceive dozens or even hundreds of previous steps, suggesting either extraordinary incarnational experience or highly developed abilities of soul. Memory access, the clarity of vision, the emotional resonance of what is perceived, and the practical wisdom that emerges from these symbolic glimpses all serve as indicators of authentic past life recognition. These symbolic narratives work together to create a comprehensive mythology of incarnational experience, providing a framework for understanding not just how many lives we have lived, but the quality, purpose, and interconnectedness of those lives. They remind us that the question, "How many lives have I lived?" is ultimately less important than understanding the deeper patterns, relationships, and evolutionary themes that weave through our eternal journey of becoming. The ethereal insights and cosmic narratives we have explored must ultimately find their expression in the tangible reality of daily existence. For wisdom that remains trapped in the realm of theory serves neither the soul nor the world. The process of discovering how many lives you have lived transforms from mystical exploration into practical transformation when we learn to weave the golden threads of past life understanding into the fabric of our current incarnation. This integration represents perhaps the most crucial aspect of incarnational exploration, as it determines whether our discoveries become tools for growth or mere intellectual curiosities. The recognition of past life patterns begins to reshape our understanding of current relationships in ways both profound and immediately practical. When we perceive through the lens of incarnational history, we begin to recognize that the challenging person in our workplace, the difficult family member, or the romantic partner who triggers our deepest reactions may be souls with whom we have shared extensive history across multiple lifetimes. This recognition does not excuse harmful behavior or suggest we should tolerate abuse, but it provides a framework for understanding the intensity of certain connections and the persistent patterns that seem to repeat regardless of our conscious efforts to change them. The practical application of this understanding manifests in what we might call karmic conscientiousness, a way of approaching relationships with greater patience, deeper compassion, and strategic wisdom. When we suspect that someone represents a recurring figure from our incarnational past, we can approach conflicts with the understanding that these situations may represent opportunities to resolve ancient patterns rather than simply defend our current position. This perspective often leads to breakthrough moments in relationships that had seemed hopelessly stuck, as we begin to address the root causes that extend far beyond the surface disagreements of this leaf. At time, career and life purpose take on entirely new dimensions when viewed through the lens of incarnational experience. The skills that come naturally, the subjects that fascinate us without clear reason, and the causes that ignite our passion often represent threads connecting us to previous lifetimes where we develop the expertise, faced specific challenges, or made commitments that extend beyond the boundaries of a single incarnation. Understanding this connection allows us to approach our professional life with greater confidence and direction, recognizing that our seemingly inexplicable attractions and abilities may represent the accumulated wisdom of multiple lifetimes focused on similar themes. This recognition manifests practically in what we might call incarnational prayer counseling, using insights about past lives to inform current prayer decisions. Someone who experiences immediate mastery in healing arts, for instance, may be drawing upon lifetimes spent as a physician, herbalist, or spiritual healer. Rather than dismissing these inclinations as mere interest, they can be embraced as authentic expressions of accumulated expertise. The number of different fields that feel familiar, the speed with which mastery develops, and the depth of intuitive understanding all provide practical indicators of how extensively we have explored various paths across multiple incarnations. The integration of past life awareness also transforms our relationship with learning and personal development. Traditional educational approaches assume we begin each subject as complete novices, but incarnational understanding suggests we may be rediscovering knowledge we once possessed, rather than learning something entirely new. This perspective can accelerate learning dramatically, as we approach new subjects with the expectation that some aspects will feel familiar, that certain concepts will resonate, with deep recognition that our learning curve may be far steeper than conventional wisdom would suggest. This translates into practical study techniques that we might call remembrance-based learning. Instead of approaching new subjects with the assumption of ignorance, we can begin with meditation or contemplation, allowing any sense of familiarity or recognition to emerge before engaging with formal instruction. This approach often reveals that what appears to be natural talent or exceptional aptitude may actually represent the reactivation of knowledge gained in previous lifetimes. The breadth of subjects that respond to this approach provides another practical indicator of the scope of our incarnational experience. Health and healing take on profound new dimensions when we consider the possibility that current physical conditions, emotional patterns, or psychological tendencies may reflect unresolved experiences from previous lifetimes. This understanding must be balanced carefully with appropriate medical care and psychological support. But it can provide additional avenues for healing that address root causes extending beyond our current life experience. Chronic conditions that seem to have no clear physical cause, phobias that appear unrelated to current life experiences, or persistent emotional patterns that resist conventional therapy may benefit from exploration. Through the lens of incarnational history, the practical application of this understanding manifests in what we might term holistic biographical healing, an approach that considers our current challenges as potentially connected to a larger story extending across multiple lifetimes. This perspective can bring relief and hope to those struggling with seemingly intractable issues, as it suggests that current difficulties may represent the final chapters in stories of healing and resolution that have been unfolding across many incarnations. The number of different healing modalities that resonate deeply, the types of therapeutic approaches that produce unexpected breakthroughs, and the patterns of healing that emerge over time all provide practical feedback about our incarnational healing journey. Travel and geographical connections offer another avenue for practical past life integration. The places that call to us with inexplicable intensity, the locations where we feel immediately at home despite never having visited before, and the cultures that resonate as familiar rather than foreign may represent geographical connections to previous incarnations. Rather than dismissing these attractions as mere wanderlust or romantic idealization, they can be explored as potential doorways to incarnational memory. This understanding leads to what we might call incarnational geography, the practice of using geographical attraction and recognition as a tool for past life exploration. The number of different regions, cultures, or historical periods that evoke this sense of recognition can provide insight into the geographical and temporal scope of our incarnational experience. Some souls may find themselves drawn primarily to a single region or culture, suggesting deep roots and repeated incarnations in a particular area. Others may experience attraction to diverse locations across the globe, indicating more extensive travel through different cultural and geographical contexts across their incarnational history. The integration of past life understanding also transforms our approach to creativity and artistic expression. The forms of creative expression that flow naturally, the historical artistic styles that resonate deeply, and the creative techniques that seem to emerge without formal training may all represent echoes from lifetimes where these abilities were developed and refined. Understanding this connection can liberate creative expression from the constraints of current life limitations, allowing us to draw upon a much larger reservoir of creative experience and knowledge. This manifests practically in incarnational creativity, the conscious use of past life awareness to enhance current creative projects. Artists, writers, musicians, and other creative individuals can approach their work with the understanding that they may be channeling not just current inspiration, but accumulated creative wisdom from multiple lifetimes. The diversity of creative mediums that feel familiar, the historical periods that inspire profound creative response, and the speed with which creative skills develop all provide practical indicators of our incarnational creative history. Perhaps most importantly, the practical integration of past life awareness must include what we might call incarnational ethics, the recognition that our actions in this lifetime may have consequences that extend far beyond our current existence. Understanding that we have lived before and will likely live again introduces a longer-term perspective on moral decision-making, encouraging choices that serve not just our immediate interests, but our eternal development and the well-being of the souls with whom we share the journey. This ethical dimension transforms everyday decisions into opportunities for incarnational service as we recognize that the patterns we establish, the relationships we heal or harm, and the contributions we make to collective human development all carry forward into future incarnations. The practical application of incarnational ethics creates a life of greater purpose, deeper responsibility, and more conscious choice-making. As we understand ourselves as temporary stewards of an eternal journey rather than isolated individuals living a single, disconnected existence. As we reach the culmination of this exploration into the profound question of how to know how many lives you have lived, we find ourselves standing not at an ending, but at a beginning, a threshold where intellectual understanding transforms into lived wisdom, where cosmic perspective becomes practical transformation, and where the ancient mysteries of incarnational memory reveal themselves as the most contemporary and urgent tools for navigating our rapidly evolving world. The journey we have undertaken together through these pages represents more than a mere investigation of past life phenomena. It constitutes a fundamental reorientation of consciousness itself. When we truly grasp that our current existence is but one movement in an eternal symphony of becoming, when we understand that our relationships extend across the vast expanses of time, and when we recognize that our seemingly individual struggles are actually chapters in a collective story of human evolution, we cannot help but be transformed by this knowledge. The question of how many lives we have lived becomes less important than the recognition that we are living beings whose true nature transcends the boundaries of any single incarnation. This recognition brings with it a profound sense of both humility and empowerment. Humility emerges from the understanding that our current personality, with all its preferences, achievements, and limitations, represents merely one facet of a much larger jewel. The ego's desperate need to be special, to be the center of the universe, to be the ultimate authority on reality, begins to dissolve when we recognize ourselves as part of an infinite web of interconnected consciousness. Yet paradoxically, this humility gives birth to a deeper kind of empowerment, the recognition that we are not victims of circumstance but active participants in a cosmic curriculum designed to awaken us to our true nature as eternal beings. The practical implications of this transformation extend into every aspect of human existence. In a world increasingly fragmented by division, conflict, and the illusion of separation, incarnational awareness offers a bridge toward genuine unity. When we recognize that the person we disagree with politically, the family member who frustrates us, or the stranger who irritates us in traffic may be souls with whom we have shared profound experience. Across multiple lifetimes, our capacity for patience, compassion, and understanding expands exponentially. This is not a naive optimism that ignores real harm or injustice, but a mature wisdom that addresses conflict from a place of deeper understanding rather than reactive emotion. The environmental crisis facing our planet takes on new dimensions when viewed through the lens of incarnational continuity. If we understand that we will likely return to this earth in future lifetimes, that our children and grandchildren may be souls who have traveled with us before, and that the world we leave behind will be the world we inherit again, our relationship with environmental stewardship transforms from abstract obligation to personal investment. The short-term thinking that has created so many of our current global challenges becomes impossible to maintain when we operate from an incarnational perspective that sees consequences extending across centuries rather than mere decades. Social justice movements gain new depth and urgency when informed by incarnational understanding. The recognition that we may have experienced life from multiple perspectives across different lifetimes. Sometimes as the oppressor, sometimes as the oppressed, sometimes as the privileged, sometimes as the marginalized creates a more nuanced and compassionate approach to addressing Systemic inequities. This perspective does not diminish the importance of fighting injustice, but it adds layers of understanding that can lead to more effective and lasting solutions rooted in true empathy rather than mere sympathy. The realm of education transforms when we recognize that learning may be more accurately described as remembering that each student brings to the classroom not just their current life experience, but potentially vast reservoirs of knowledge and wisdom accumulated across multiple incarnations. This understanding calls for educational approaches that honor the innate wisdom of each learner while providing new frameworks for accessing and integrating that wisdom. The recognition that some students may be rediscovering subjects they mastered in previous lifetimes creates opportunities for more personalized and effective educational experiences. Healthcare and healing arts benefit enormously from incarnational perspective, as practitioners begin to understand that some conditions may represent unfinished business from previous lifetimes. That some healing gifts may be reactivated abilities rather than newly developed skills, and that the therapeutic relationship itself may be part of an ongoing healing journey that extends across multiple incarnations. This understanding does not replace conventional medical care, but adds dimensions of possibility that can enhance and complement traditional approaches. The arts and creative expression flourish when informed by incarnational awareness, as artists recognize that they may be channeling not just current inspiration, but creative wisdom accumulated across multiple lifetimes. This perspective can liberate creative expression from the constraints of current life experience and education, allowing for the emergence of works that draw upon a much deeper well of human experience and understanding. Perhaps most significantly, incarnational awareness transforms our relationship with death and dying. The fear that grips so many hearts when contemplating mortality begins to dissolve when we understand death not as an ending but as a transition. Not as a loss but as a graduation to the next phase of our eternal curriculum. This understanding brings profound comfort to the grieving and courage to the dying, as we recognize that separation is temporary and that the bonds of love transcend the boundaries of individual incarnations. Yet with this expanded understanding comes expanded responsibility. The recognition that our actions in this lifetime may have consequences extending far beyond our current existence, that we are part of a larger pattern of growth and evolution, and that our choices affect not just ourselves but the entire web of consciousness of which we are part, calls us to a higher standard of ethical living. This is not the burden of perfectionism, but the joy of purposeful existence, as we recognize that every moment offers opportunities to contribute to the great work of consciousness evolution. The invitation that emerges from this exploration is both simple and profound: to live each day with the awareness that you are an eternal being temporarily wearing human form. To approach each relationship with the understanding that you may be encountering souls with whom you have shared profound experiences across multiple lifetimes, and to make each choice with the recognition that you are part of a cosmic story whose implications extend far beyond the boundaries of your current existence. This transformation does not require dramatic external changes or the adoption of exotic spiritual practices. It requires only the willingness to see ordinary life through the lens of extraordinary perspective, to recognize the sacred in the mundane, and to live with the understanding that every moment of existence is both a gift and an opportunity for growth. The question of how many lives you have lived becomes less important than the recognition that you are alive right now, in this moment, with the accumulated wisdom of ages available to you and the opportunity to contribute to the ongoing evolution of consciousness itself. As you step forward from this exploration, carry with you the understanding that you are both ancient and eternal, both individual and interconnected, both human and divine. The journey of discovering your incarnational history is not a destination to be reached, but a continuous process of awakening to the magnificent reality of who you truly are. In embracing this truth, You join the ranks of those who see beyond the veil of ordinary perception and live from the understanding that love, wisdom, and consciousness are the only true constants in an ever-changing universe. The dance of incarnation continues, and you are both the dancer and the dance, both the storyteller and the story, both the seeker and the sought. In recognizing this truth, you transform not only your own existence, but contribute to the awakening of all consciousness to its eternal nature. This is the ultimate gift of incarnational awareness, the recognition that in knowing yourself as an eternal being, you help the entire universe remember its own eternal nature.